Hello everyone and welcome to my what I read in July. So just to get started into what I read, I will be also referencing my Goodreads, which you guys can check out. I have it linked down below. Here is my username as well, if you guys want to check it out. But just to get started into what I read this month, I'm going to go in order and give you guys the stars and why I rated it that. And I also do have, I believe it's called It's Notable, which you can say what books you're reading and kind of talk about what your kind of reviews and thoughts are as you're reading it. So yeah, we'll kind of go into that as well. But let's get started in the order of what I read this month of July. So this is the whole pile of books that I read this month. I am missing one book, which I'll tell you guys about. I actually lent it to my mom, who is reading it. But let's just get into what I read and how I rate them. So starting off the month of July, starting in June into July, I read Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I rated this book. So I rated Pet Sematary 3 stars. I enjoyed the storyline. I already knew what was coming though. I've watched the movie, so reading the book was kind of, you know, just a rite of passage to get it off my TBR. I did enjoy the storyline though. Of course we all know what happens in Pet Sematary, but yeah. So that was the first book I read in July. Next I read Tender is the Flesh. Augustina Besterica. That's my guess on how to pronounce their name. But I did really enjoy this book. I did not see the plot coming. I did not see, I knew obviously it is about animal meat becomes poisoned or tainted, so we have to turn to other meat to eat. And I really enjoyed the way that this book was written. It is rather graphic, so do check content warning if you are going to read this. I highly recommend this. This was a 5-star read for me. I had seen it on a TikTok and I purchased it off Amazon, and honestly, like, this book was so good. I read it in a day. It was such a fast read, but it was such a good story. Highly recommend. Next up, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. This book took me about 4 days to read. It was a little slow for me in the beginning. Any world building story is a little difficult for me to get into, but I really enjoyed this book, and I did end up buying the sequels and the whole series, other than A Court of Silver Flames, which comes out on paperback in, I believe, August, September time. So I'm gonna purchase that once that comes out in paperback. But I gave this a 4 stars. I did really enjoy the storyline, and I like the characters. I didn't like, one thing that I really struggle with in a book is if they have family and they make this family seem altogether like holy grail person that they have to be with, and the characters are meant to be garbage. And it's very difficult for me to get into a storyline where, like, she cares about the family and she cares about, like, what happens to them when they were garbage to her. So that was a really hard thing to get past with this book and another book I read this month. But overall, this book really redeemed itself, and I enjoyed the ending and the storyline and getting away from that family aspect. But yeah, so 4 stars, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I'm excited to read the rest of the series. In my Barnes & Noble haul, I did pick up Flowers for Algernon from Amazon. I read this next. I did give Flowers for Algernon a 3 star. It was a good book. It was a solid, like, classic read. I know a lot of people recommended and read this in high school. I never had the chance, so I enjoyed the way that the author really portrayed the intelligence, and I do have questions about the scientific aspect just because I do work in research, but I really enjoyed this book. I liked the way that the characters really came across, and yeah, so 3 stars for Flowers for Algernon. I then read Where the Crawdads Sing. I gave this book a 4-star rating. It was really hard for me to get past her whole backstory and development of the characters, but once we got to, like, the court scene and everything like that, I flew through this book. It was so good, such a shocking ending. I loved how the character also really like developed as a character into like the, you know, like all the stuff that she achieved in her life. I read this just before the movie came out. I didn't have the chance to see the movie yet, but I really hope that I get the chance to, because I really want to know how they adapted some of the storyline into the movie. But yeah, check trigger warnings on this book as well. From this experience, I highly recommend checking trigger warnings if you do have any triggers like that, because a lot of these books have weird triggers and you do not see it coming. So yeah, really enjoyed this book though, 4 stars. Next up, I read The Silent Patient. I really enjoyed this book. I loved the writing style of this book. I did do a reading vlog with this book, so if you guys didn't see that, go check it out. I'll have it linked in the side and at the end as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I did guess the ending, so I did only give it 4 stars. If I wouldn't have guessed the ending, I definitely would have given it 5, but because I guessed it, I just feel like maybe it was a little too questionable, or I've just been reading so much that I kind of question timelines more, especially because I just read Where the Crawdads Sing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book though. The writing style, the way that it was portrayed, I really enjoyed. So 4 stars. Then I went into my 24-hour readathon, which I just uploaded right before this video. If you guys didn't see that, check it out. It'll be linked right here and at the end. But I read a lot of, I got through 2.5 books, but so the first book that I read was It Ends With Us. That book overall emotionally destroyed me. That was my first Colleen Hoover book, and it was definitely a 5-star. I've never felt the way I felt with that book. P.S. Check the trigger warnings. I had no idea that that book had any of the content that it had. It was beautiful and amazingly well written and well represented, and definitely check the content warning though. But I 5-star recommend that book to every single person. My mom actually has my copy and is reading it right now. So yeah, I really recommend that book. The second book I read in my 24-hour readathon was Wild Rescuers Guardians of the Taiga, which, let me pull up I rated this 4 stars in the young adult category. I did enjoy the storyline. I really enjoy Stacy's writing in an aspect of how she brings vocabulary up, even if it's in a situation that you know what's happening. She really tests your vocabulary, and she, even as a almost 25-year-old, really like teaches me words. So I really enjoy it. I recommend this to anyone that has younger kids who like wolves and dogs and any kind of nature. This was a very good book. The last book that I started and attempted to read during my 24-hour readathon was Caraval, which, spoiler alert, you guys can also check it out and see how my progress went. I did not finish my 24 hours, and this book I'm gonna blame it on, because this book was a really hard read for me. This book took me so long to read. I did end up only giving this book a 2-star rating. I just really dislike the storyline of this book. I love the idea of Caraval. I really want to read the sequel, and I want to see kind of how it goes into that. I think it's going to be a great story, but I hated this plot line. Spoilers ahead, skip to this time if you don't want spoilers. Okay. I did not enjoy the father character. I believe that he was overly abusive for absolutely no reason. It was never elaborated on why he became abusive after their mother left. I don't know if maybe he was beating his wife and then not the kids, but I really disliked that in the storyline. I hated that that was the plot end of why she killed herself and stuff like that. I really didn't like that the characters were the way that they portrayed. Yeah, so overall I just really didn't enjoy the storyline. I hated how much her sister was so whiny, and the fact that they couldn't tell her about the secrets was very irritating to me. overall, I just really hated their father as a character, and the fact that the whole time she was at Caraval, all she cared about was her sister. Like, I thought the plot was getting better when she was starting to actually care about herself, but, you know, obviously it turns out the ending was the way that it was. So I gave this book a 2-star. I gave it 2 stars only because Caraval sounds amazingly awesome, but the plot line and the way that it was written, I just really disliked. The next book that I read to get out of that reading slump was Verity. I super love this book. I am definitely team manuscript. This was a 5-star read, I believe. Yeah, I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I cannot tell you, okay, spoilers ahead, skip to this part if you just want to hear general, but the scene where the wife is standing up on top of the stairs while they were making out on the couch gave me super bad heebie-jeebies. I literally was like reading upstairs by myself. I had to go downstairs and sit by Josh because this book got in my head. I read Stephen King, I read horror, I watch horror movies. This book gave me those images. It was amazingly written. I am definitely, as I said a minute ago, team manuscript. I agree with the manuscript. I don't think you could write some of those things without actually meaning them. I'm sorry, that's not an author's technique. End of spoilers. I gave this book 5 stars. I love this book. I highly recommend it. Just the way it's so manipulatively written. I don't think anyone could guess the plot line. I mean, I think you can guess the plot line, but I don't think you can get all of the curveballs that Colleen Hoover throws you in this book. And I really enjoy it. Every time I think about this book, I just keep thinking about, like, if this was right, if that was right. Because as you're reading, you're developing this character, and it's crazy. I really enjoyed this book. The last book that I started in July was The Inheritance Games. I did get about 86 pages into this book. I think it was on chapter 20. I did DNF this book. I just think I'm not in the right headspace right now to read this book. It's very young adult, and it's very not what I thought when I picked this book up. I was expecting them having to fight for the money, and that is not the way that this book starts. So I did get almost 100 pages in. I just can't. I'm in a reading slump, and I don't want to try to stick with this book just to continue it. So I'm going to take a pause from this book, put it back on my TBR, and pick it up a different time, because I definitely think I'm going to enjoy this book if I am in a ready mood where I literally read for 100 pages a day or more. But for right now, I'm not, and I really need to pick something else up starting in August to see what really, gets me back into the reading mood, because obviously I can read a whole bunch of books. So I'm going to DNF this book, and I am going to pick it up later. It's definitely a good read. I like the writing style. I like where it's going, but it's not the right time right now. Those are the 10 books that I read in July. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books, what your thoughts on them were, and if you guys have specific books that you think I should check out next. Don't forget to comment down below, click that thumbs up button if you guys enjoyed it, and click subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let me know what you guys want to see, because I'm really trying to build this channel, and I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye guys! Also stay tuned, because soon, like literally tomorrow, I'm gonna upload my what I am reading in August, my TBR. Yeah, so check it out. Bye guys!